Hello and welcome back to Story of the Day for Wednesday the 6th of May 2020, and we are picking up Grandpa's Great Escape by David Walliams, and we're at chapter 40, A Rope of Knickers. The next evening, Jack was sat on the top bunk in his bedroom. Under his pillow he had hidden a large serving spoon he had swiped from the school cafeteria at lunchtime. He had stuffed it down his trousers, which made him limp like he had a wooden leg. As his model planes dangled round his head, the boy felt torn. He had promised his grandfather he would make another secret visit to Twilight Towers later that night. However, even with a bigger spoon, Grandpa had less than zero chance of escape. The only point the boy could see of carrying on with the whole charade was so the old man would not lose hope. Because, without hope, Grandpa would have nothing. Perhaps Grandpa could live out his days digging the tunnel, dreaming of an escape. That would never come, thought Jack. As much as he hated Twilight Towers and the sinister Miss Swine, the boy didn't have another plan. Talking to his parents again had been no use. They believed their son had an overactive imagination after spending so much time with his dotty grandfather. To them, this just sounded like another one of their fantasies. So, regular as clockwork now, the boy waited for night to fall. Then he grabbed the serving spoon and climbed out of his bedroom window. But when he arrived at Twilight Towers, he noticed something worrying. The drain pipe that he had used before to climb up to the window of Grandpa's dormitory had been yanked off the wall. It was now lying in bits on the gravel. Were Matron and her army of nurses onto him? This was his only means of scaling the building. Frightened he would be walking into a trap that might lead his grandfather into deeper trouble, the boy decided to leave immediately. But just as he was crawling back across the lawn, Jack heard a noise coming from the roof. It was the sound of a little wooden door opening. Was it Miss Swine or one of her nurses? Had Jack been busted? Looking up, he spied a figure at the top of the building, clambering out of a tiny hatch. It was Grandpa, still in his pyjamas. The old man was trying to squeeze himself through a hatch hole. The opening was small. As he forced himself through, his pyjama bottoms slipped down, exposing his saggy behind. Grandpa crawled onto the roof and stood up. As soon as he regained his balance, he hoisted up his pyjama bottoms. The roof had quite a slope to it, and as a wicked wind blew across the moors, the old man wobbled on his way down the roof ledge. Jack called up to his grandfather as quietly as he could. "What on earth are you doing up there?" The old man looked puzzled for a moment as to where the voice was coming from. "Down here." "Oh, squadron leader, there you are. But I think you mean, what on earth are you doing up there, sir? Let's not forget our manners just because a war is on." "Apologies. What on earth are you doing up there, sir?" the boy called. The commandant suspected something was up. Had the whole camp searched from top to bottom. One of the guards found a tunnel I had dug in the basement. Well, I say tunnel. The scrapings on the stone floor I'd made with a spoon. Now they know there is escape afoot. Earlier, guards burst into our cells and ripped everything apart. Darn and blast them all. Smashed up furniture, upturned beds, looking for clues. Did they find the spoon? No, I just managed to hide it by clenching it between my buttocks. It was the one place they didn't look. I couldn't hold it in there much longer, so I had to make a new plan. I escape tonight. Tonight? Yes, squadron leader. But sir, how are you going to get down from there? You're 4 floors up. Yes, shame I didn't pack my parachute, but I did manage to tie this together. With that, the old man scuttled back to the hatch and pulled out what looked like a rope of some sort. On closer inspection, it wasn't a rope at all. It was in fact 30 pairs or so of frilly knickers that Grandpa had tied together. "Where did you get those knickers from, sir?" "They're not mine, squadron leader, if that's what you're trying to say." "No, sir," replied the boy. Still, it was an awful lot of knickers, or to use the correct term, knickerage. "I found them hanging up in the laundry room," continued Grandpa. "Dozens of pairs of ladies' knickers there were, all in extra large sizes." The old man began to uncurl his makeshift rope and let it out so slowly. Then, eventually, it reached the ground. Oh no, thought Jack, my elderly grandfather is going to abseil down a building using only some frilly knickers. Please be careful, Grandpa. I mean, Wing Commander, sir. From his position on the ground, Jack watched as his grandfather tied his end of the rope of the knickers around the bell tower at the top of Twilight Towers. Make sure the knot won't come undone, sir, called up the boy. The old RAF officer didn't appreciate being challenged like this. I know my way round a knot, thank you very much, squadron leader. Grandpa tugged on the rope of knickers a few times to make sure it was secure. He held on tight with both hands and started to lower himself down the side of the building. The silk of the knickers was surprisingly strong. It held his weight easily. Little by little he descended to the ground. For a moment it looked like disaster had struck when Grandpa lost his footing. One of his slippers slipped on the wet bricks and fell onto the floor. It hit Jack on the head on the way down. Thunk! Sincere apologies for that, squadron leader. Jack picked up the slipper and held onto it, mightily impressed by the old man's strength and agility, until Grandpa reached the ground. Then the boy saluted him, as he always did, and handed over his slipper as if it were a medal. The man unbuttoned his pyjamas to reveal he was wearing his blazer and slacks underneath. Thank you, old boy, said Grandpa, as he pushed his foot back into his slipper. Jack looked across the grounds of Twilight Towers. The searchlights were circling at the far end. If they moved quickly, they had a chance of not being seen and making it over the wall to freedom. Right, we had to get going straight away, sir, said the boy. Oh, yes, squadron leader, there is one small thing. What's that? Well, there are quite a few of us on the escape committee. What do you mean, escape committee? Asked Jack. Psst, came a voice from above. The pair looked up. There were a dozen or so elderly people on the roof. All were in their pyjamas and nightdresses. More and more were joining them by the moment as they squeezed themselves through the tiny hatch. This was now a mass breakout. And tomorrow we'll pick up at chapter 41. Jolly good show.